Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. This is our last episode of this really fun series, collaborating with Zoe and myself. So, we have joined the Sweet Clarity podcast with the Note to Self podcast, wherever you find yourself today. We have a special message for you, which is this is our final call to join the Girls Club. Our next call will be on July 8th, and we are so excited to welcome all of you in and get started with such an amazing transformation. So, today's topic in this last episode is how to overcome overthinking. Zoe, I would love to hear your thoughts on how to bring this topic to light.
Yeah, I have been doing some personal learning around this subject because a few weeks ago at the time of recording this podcast, I found myself just in this perpetual state of overthinking. Just about anything and everything. It was as if my body was sort of going through something or my consciousness. I really needed to learn how to overcome different parts of my mind that were perpetuating fears or doubts or like concerns about, like I said, it's kind of across the board. There wasn't really any particular subject that I was feeling triggered upon. It was just like my brain is so caught up in overthinking. And actually read this book that was called Don't Believe Everything You Think by Joseph Wynn. I highly recommended it because it was only 2.5 hour listen, and I'm pretty sure I gobbled that thing up in one day. I just like went for a walk, was cleaning, listened to it, and I was like, this is everything I needed to hear. What he said that really stuck with me was that you're either kind of in a state of overthinking or you're being thought. And what he means about being thought is that you're just being at peace, at harmony, which is our natural state where insights, affirmations, awareness, like the things that we need to be thinking to get through our day are happening, or else we are like in a state of overthinking. So I started to bring more awareness to when I was in a state of overthinking versus being thought. And what I started to implement was different ways in bringing myself out of my head and into my heart. So there are ways in which conscious breathing and practicing heart-brain coherence, imagining, right, bringing the energy down to your heart and breathing through that have supported me in the past. But I almost felt like what I needed to hear in that moment and how I needed to actually do things differently was to distract myself because my brain was, again, caught in these loops for a few days of like perpetual overthinking and no such rhyme or reason about it. So I started to just do things differently. Instead of listening to self-development content after this, I started to listen to more of like entertainment content, not feeling like I had to be like learning so much. I started to implement different ways of distracting my mind when I was focused on whatever I was overthinking about, such as I actually downloaded this app called Ahead, which I recommend as well. I told Grayson to download it too, so you have to let me think. But one of the teachings in there is like whenever you feel like triggered or in that state of overthinking, look for as many things as you can that are the color blue. Like just start to like distract the mind to break that loop, right? Because the neural pathway is on a perpetual loop. And instead of thinking like, I need to feel an emotion, I need to like heal, sometimes I think we just need to pattern interrupt the mind. And that was a teaching that I needed in that moment to get to a new level of overcoming overthinking in my own self. Yeah, I went on a bit of a tangent there. So I want to hear all of your thoughts, Grayson, and all of what you've come to learn about this.
For me, overthinking is very airy in terms of elemental, right? It has, yeah, lots of airiness, lots of movement. And so the antidote, and I'm thinking within a lens of Ayurveda. So we've got Vata, meaning air, Pitta, fire, and Kapha, earth. When we're in overthinking, we're in our mind, lots of air, lots of movement, very spirally. So, to combat that spiral and get that antidote, transition into kapha, meaning groundedness, earthiness, stillness, quiet, soothing. Our mind, when we're in a state of overthinking, can be very easily worried, very much anxious, also concerned with a lack of control. You can think of the sensation of spiraling out of control and like washing machine energy. That to me is what comes to mind when I'm overthinking. When I get stuck in that place, I need to transition, like I said, into that kapha, which is connecting with nature, just looking at leaves in a tree in the breeze. Like it's so calming to me to just focus on and zoom into one thing and just let my mind kind of empty into that moment. Ultimately, how to overcome overthinking, just getting to the root of it. The goal here is finding peace within yourself. And I think a beautiful intention here, we talk a lot in the girls club about the mind, the body, and the soul. It's so important to consciously create each of these to be a beautiful place to live. Because at the end of the day, we're living in our mind, we're living in our body, and we're living in our soul for our entire life. So make that be a good place to be. Make that be a beautiful world to be in.
Yeah, I love what you said about slowing it down, Grayson, because the overthinking is a spiral and it has a tendency to spiral downwards, I find, where it's actually quite interesting because you're expending so much energy keeping the perpetual loops going, whether that's conscious or unconscious, it just sort of happens. And if you can slow it down, you can actually start to get to that place of like replenishing the self, but coming back to a state of peacefulness, which is actually where the insights come through. So, as I mentioned, what I found with overthinking is sometimes I don't actually have to do any specific type of healing tool. I just have to pattern interrupt whatever loop my mind is stuck on. And I would say that this is different for everyone, and it depends on how well you know yourself. But what I found is that the spiral is overthinking about work and like, I'm never going to get anything done. I know for myself when that's happening, for the most part, that's like coming from a state of overwhelm that I don't actually feel like I need to process a particular emotion or like look at, let's say, a trigger or a wound. I just need to bring myself back to that state of calm, right? That state of peacefulness, that state of groundedness, like Grayson mentioned, not so much of an airy vibe. And from the groundedness, like being rooted in my center, I can actually see, oh, if I just start with task one, task two, task three, before I know it, I'm going to get it completed. But then sometimes what I found is that overwhelm and overthinking can be triggered by like a particular emotional trigger or a wounding of some kind. And then that's when it might require deeper work. But trust yourself and the tools that you have because you can begin to get to this place of differentiating. I just need to distract, reset, ground, or I need to stop, drop down to my body, maybe on my yoga mat, do some stretching, move my body and see if there's something that wants to be revealed to me. But again, this is a personal journey for everyone. So hopefully that grants like some insights on some actionable steps to take. But I think a great visual is what you had said, Grayson, just like airy. Okay, we're feeling airy. I'm going to bring awareness to that and I'm going to ground. I'm going to bring it back down to earth.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very actionable too, right? So I recommend having a dedicated place to have, so to say, a brain dump where all of the thoughts can go. Something that is very common with this is journaling. And I like to also tell my clients to take that a step further with having either a written journal as we know it, but also a video journal or audio journaling. Like, however you want to get your thoughts out of your head, get them out. When we're in that state of overthinking, there's actually a lot of inspiration that we can pull from in a creative sense. So make art. Let yourself have a creative session where you're expressing yourself because there's so much that needs to be expressed. Sometimes when we're overthinking, it's just that there is like a clog in the pipe. But doing a little digging with creativity and expression, like there's so many gems to be harvested there. To me, getting into overthinking a little bit more, just digging this up, it's actually super detail oriented. Just the essence of overthinking. We're focusing on a lot of details, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So apply that as a superpower, but elsewhere. The detail oriented nature of problem solving or of organization. Go clean out your closet or go organize your desk area. Take that energy that you have that's really wound up and apply it to something that can be useful.
Yeah, that's such a powerful awareness to come to. Like, I find just even like, again, plugging in entertainment content, like music, let's say music that puts me into like a feel good vibe and deciding to clean the kitchen for half an hour, let's say, that can completely shift the overthinking into a state of groundedness just by, moving my body, focusing on something tangible, like working with my hands, being present, like starting to come back to presence with the moments. That's ultimately where we always strive to be when we're aware of it because we know how powerful the present moment is of just like, oh yeah, everything's fine. Everything's good. It's all getting taken care of. It's divine time. and we get back to ultimately that place of remembrance.
Yes, exactly. So well said, Zoe. And yeah, bringing it back to this moment here, I just want to say if you are struggling with overthinking, you're not alone. And it's very normal. Having circles of women to come to in those seasons of overthinking and those experiences is also a very supportive place to bring your thoughts. So we are really welcoming you in this moment and inviting you into the Girls Club if you feel the call to join. Like I said in the first bit of this episode, our first call is July 8th. So you have some time to join, and there's already bonus content waiting for you whenever you do join. And yeah, let us know if you have any questions. Zoe, anything else?
Just a big warm welcome to all of the women who have already made the leap. We're so happy and grateful to work with you. And anyone feeling the call, we would love to welcome you inside. Even if you're listening to this podcast and it's an episode from the past, the Girls Club is a membership. So you can join us at any time. And we're so happy and grateful to have you. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.